And we are live. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is Friday, May 6th, 2022, or as we like to call it around here, the Revenge of the 6th. No, nobody. We're having a wonderful day. This week, we're talking about iOS 16 a lot. We're going to talk about our hopes, our dreams, our wishes, our expectations, what we think Apple's going to do with the newest iOS software, because WWDC is a month away, exactly a month away. June 6th is when it's going to all kick off. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about various other interesting news items. There are some, depressing trade-in values being slashed. There's a cool new After Steve book that's coming out. The very first Apple store that was ever outside of the US is unfortunately being demolished. There's a lot of weird, interesting news this week because this is the iMore show. I am your host, Luke Philippowicz, a writer for iMore, and I am joined, as always, by one of my lovely co-hosts, Karen Freeman, iMore contributor. How you doing, Karen?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Glad to be back. Had to take a little bit of a break there, but we're back into the grind of it now. And Stephen couldn't join us today, unfortunately, but luckily we have a wonderful special guest, Christine from iMore writer, iMore extraordinaire, iOS extraordinaire. She's been using iPhones a lot recently. She's going to tell us all about what she wants us to do, what she wants Apple to do with iOS 16. How you doing, Christine?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Not too bad. Christine's an avid Star Wars fan and Disney fan, and I'm assuming for May the 4th you did at least something interesting and fun.
Yeah, I went to Disneyland for a little bit. They had like some fun little photo ops and merchandise. I didn't get any merchandise because it was all sold out, or the sizes I wanted were sold out at the time. So I'm like, oh, I'll just not spend any money, which is a first.
Fair. How much like Star Wars / Disney stuff do you have for your little one already?
Got quite a few like Disney things. Not as many like Star Wars things. But that'll change.
Yeah, that's fair. You'll get there. You'll get there. Yeah. To kick off the show, that this is the funniest thing. I just read it. It came across the Newswire last night, and there's a weird Apple Music bug right now going around. Did you both hear about this?
Yeah, it is bizarre. I saw the videos. It's I mean, assuming they're not like doctored or some weird thing, but it is weird.
Yeah. So what's happening, if people aren't aware, there's this weird bug going on right now, and it's kind of landing in Apple in a little bit of hot water, although they do say that they know it's a bug and they are working on a fix. But apparently if you've like offloaded the Apple Music app on your phone and you go to re-download it, it will automatically show up in your dock. But not only will it automatically show up in your dock, if you have like a third-party music app there, like say you use Spotify most of the time and you have that on your dock, it will actually kick Spotify out.
Some people are saying that like maybe it's not a bug kind of thing, but that would be pretty nefarious. I think it's probably just a bug, but it's a weird one.
It's probably because by default, when you set up a new iPhone, the music app is in that spot. By default.
Yeah, Christine, you bring up a good point. That's kind of what I originally thought when I heard about this, was like, oh, there must be some weird thing where it's defaulting to like how it's set up when it when you first launch an iPhone kind of thing. Because that's what it seems like, because it is going to the same spot every time. But it's weird that it's kicking out specifically. It seems to be kicking out like other media apps. Apparently it also happened to like the YouTube app on somebody's phone as well, and things like that, which are all kind of direct competitors to Apple Music, which is really interesting. I do think it's a bug. I obviously don't think it's being done nefariously as some people, especially the Epic CEO Tim Sweeney decided to jump on this real quick, which isn't surprising considering the ongoing legal battle between Epic Games and Apple over, App Store rules and Fortnite and that whole rigmarole that technically was solved, but now it's going through appeal processes and things, so it probably won't be officially solved for a while yet. But he jumped on it immediately, and obviously was sort of hinting that Apple might be doing something nefarious. I would say it's likely a bug. I think Christine hit it on the head. It's probably has something to do with like it reverting to like a newly installed device or something like that. Apple has officially said they are aware of the bug and they are working on a fix. So it's just it was kind of a funny piece of news, especially since like, you know, Apple's been in some hot water, you know, for a while now over, you know, antitrust and sort of, you know, trying to not have such a, you know, a lot of people want Apple not to have such a grip lock on their devices in terms of iOS and what apps can be uploaded and sort of thing. So this just kind of like adds a little, you know, a little grease to the fire, if you want. So
yeah. So we're just gonna hope that it was literally just a bug and they get it fixed, and that'll be the end of that.
Yeah. It's just it's such a crazy thing. And honestly, this reminds me of the power of like the power of just social media in general. Because I feel like
for sure
little bugs like this happen all the time, right? Like it's software can break or does little things, and it's just funny that is the immediately as something happens, you can kind of like figure it out, and there's already stories about out of it, and you can kind of see it happen in action. People posted videos of it happening and all sorts of things. So I don't know, it's cool. It's like a nice little community that we have you know, for tech and for Apple, where like if we're gonna find bugs, we're gonna find them probably before Apple does, because there's just so many more of us.
right I mean 10 years ago Apple would have squashed this bug before anybody even other than like a handful of people even noticed, you know, 10-15 years ago.
Yeah, but these days, as soon as something's wrong, it's on social media within a minute. So,
yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, if you've experienced this bug, let us know. If you have any experience with it, it's pretty interesting. Hopefully it gets fixed soon. Apple is aware, as I said. They said yesterday late afternoon, they officially said that they know that it's happening. So I'm assuming it'll be fixed relatively soon. I'm assuming it's not a hard fix, but I know nothing about developing, so maybe it's the hardest fix in the world. I don't know. But I'm assuming they know how to tackle the issue, and it will be dealt with accordingly. All right, I kind of alluded to this at the top of the show, but this news makes me pretty sad, and I'm interested to get your takes on it, especially Karen, as somebody who worked in an Apple store before. So Apple is apparently going to be slashing trade-in values of up to 42% on some of its products. Specifically, Macs, iPads, and Apple Watches are being affected by this, and that's really unfortunate. I think, you know, we know Apple products are expensive. You know, they've come a long way recently in trying to, you know, make some of their lines, especially like iPads and Apple Watches, a little more affordable, and things like that. But I feel like, you know, lowering the trade-in value, especially on like, you know, really well maintained pieces, is just of tech, is just a little, I don't know, it leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. You know, like Apple, it's so expensive as it is, and technology is increasingly becoming, you know, more and more essential to our lives. And it's just like, sucks that, you know, a week ago you might have been able to trade in your MacBook for, you know, like $300 to $400 more than you can now, which, you know, seems silly. And there doesn't really seem to be a lot of, from what we can tell as of right now, there isn't really a lot of reasoning being given to this. And so it just kind of seems like they're doing it because they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Apple hasn't said a word about it, which means they're just doing it because they can. And it is unfortunate, because I think that Apple giving better trade-in value for old items actually encourages recycling and less ending up in the landfill. Because I think, you know, if you know you're going to get a lot of money for something, you're more likely to go to Apple and you know, to sell it back to them. Because I think a lot of people are nervous about selling their tech on the open market in case something should go. There's just a lot of things that can go wrong Whereas if you give it to Apple, you can trust that it's going to be handled properly, that your data is going to, if you didn't wipe your data exactly right, that Apple will take care of that. And if your item isn't worth reselling, then Apple will properly recycle it. Whereas if you sell it on the open market, who knows what happens to it? So I think a lot of people just tend to throw their old tech in a drawer if Apple's not going to give them what they want for it, and then that's not good for the environment or anything. It just ends up in a landfill eventually.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, it doesn't appear that iPhone is really being affected by this, at least as of now, as far as we know.
Because the iPhone has the best resale value. So Apple needs to give people more money for it because they can get more money for it.
Yeah. And I have to imagine you're right, Karen, that's the reason, is that there is a pretty good market for, refurbished iPhones, especially specifically refurbished iPhones from Apple that are, taken care of and sealed and in great condition and things like that. So, but it's unfortunate because it's like, I guess I'm trying, I want to have my cake and eat it too, or at least I'm kind of like Apple in that way, where it's like, I understand that clearly the reason why iPhone isn't being affected is that they probably, like we speculated, they probably have the best, the Apple can offload those the easiest, but like are there really not, is there really not that big of a market for like used iPads? At least I'm thinking, like, I feel like I've traded in iPads before.
Yeah, that's the most surprising one, honestly, because I think people are wary of buying an older used like MacBook, for example.
Yeah.
But iPads, like, they last forever. Like you can buy a 2, 3, 4-year-old iPad and still get a lot of use out of it. So yeah, I'm not sure why iPad was included in the slashing, but it's all about the market. I'm sure Apple did extensive research before making this decision. So it's got to be what the market will bear.
Yeah. Christine, have you ever done a trade-in for anything? Like, I know you're on the iPhone upgrade program, which is a whole different beast, but have you ever done like a trade-in for any sort of Mac product in the past?
Not really. I still have old MacBooks that I need to do something with.
Yeah. I mean, now you're going to get a lot less money for them, but
yeah.
Yeah. I've used like Gazelle and Nextworth. They're as MX4211 in the comments pointed out. There are other companies that do make it very easy. And both of the companies that I used did make it very easy, and it felt like very trustworthy and on the up and up. And I didn't have to deal directly with a buyer. So, I didn't worry that I was going to get scammed or, anything like that. And that went fine. And I'll tell you what, I mean, next time I want to trade in a product, I'm going to really check prices carefully at all the different markets like that before I go to Apple.
Yeah, as we're talking about MX 4211, as they are officially called in the YouTube comments, has brought up a good point. There are other companies that have done better prices kind of in the past, especially if you take care of your devices. But it's that convenience factor of especially if you're going to the Apple Store to upgrade already and things like that. You
just walk in and hand it over.
Yeah, it is easy. And Apple knows that, right? They know that they get a lot of customers that want to deal with them directly because they obviously, they know what they're doing with their own products. They've, demonstrated that for, 20 plus years now. They are the most reliable in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think Karen, you hit it spot on there where you said like now if you're looking to trade in, like it's probably worth it for you to go around and do some shopping and shop around and see where you can get the best price. So and here Scott C is saying that he just sold his iPhone 8 for double than the $100 trade-in that was offered by Apple. So people, if you're out there looking to trade in some old devices, it's maybe Apple isn't the way you want to go.
Yeah, we have some articles about all the different third-party resellers that you can check out. I'm pretty sure we have an article about that.
Yeah, definitely. And before we continue, I'm going to tell you about some new friends of ours at Henson Shaving. Now, anyone who shaves literally any part of their body knows that razor burn and bumps is annoying, whether you have it on your face, your legs, wherever. One of the best ways to actually combat that is to not shave with cartridge razors. Cartridge razors actually create a lot more tension and scraping of the skin. And so safety razors, which just use one blade, surprisingly enough, some people might think that's shocking, can give a good shave but if you hold it at the right angle, well, guess what? You don't even need to hold it at the right angle if you're using Henson Shaving's amazing safety razor, because it is built and engineered with aerospace machining up here in Canada, up here in the Great White North. We know what we're doing, so that it is specifically at the best angle of 30 degrees every time you shave, giving you a nice, close, precise, and clean shave with each pass of the razor. Blades for the best part about shaving with a safety razor is that the blades are recyclable, and they literally can cost about 10 cents per blade. You can go on Amazon or other retailers. You can find them at your, the local supermarket too, and they're ridiculously cheap. You can buy like 500 razors and they will last you years. And you won't spend nearly as much as buying those cartridges you have to go buy every month or two from the superstore, from the supermarket. The reason why Henson Shaving is so good is they greatly limit the blade exposure. The reason for this is to support the blade and eliminate the chatter, which makes it smooth running across your skin. The more blade is exposed, the more flex it has, and the flex can lead to nicks, cuts, and irritation. Built-in channels will help you easily remove hair and cream with a quick rinse under the tap, so that the blade doesn't get plugged up or blocked from excess hair. And yeah, it's just I've been using safety razors for years now, and ever since I switched, I have had way better shaves, a way smoother shaving experience, and I don't get razor burn nearly as often. So if you're looking to make this switch, head over to hensonshaving.com and get your safety razor today. And thanks for Henson Shaving for sponsoring the show. In some interesting news about the Mac, we just talked about the trade-in value unfortunately getting slashed, but apparently the Mac market is continuing to grow, and the PC market is declining slightly. What you need to know is that Mac shipments grew by 4% in the first quarter of 2022 and reached about a 10% market share, which is pretty good for Macs overall, because I know that everybody listening to this podcast likely loves their Mac and has been using Mac for years. However, PC is still kind of rule of the world in a lot of ways, especially in the business sectors and things like that. But I have to imagine that like Apple's M1 has really kind of blown the doors open for Mac in a pretty big way.
Well, we can theorize about why this is, but my theory, and this is just completely out of left field, is that more people are going into creative fields. Like more people are becoming influencers, YouTubers, creators, and those kinds of people often use Mac products, even if what they're creating has nothing to do with Apple or tech or anything like that. I just think it's more popular with that crowd. And people are young people coming into the job market now. They're not always looking for like the typical corporate 9-to-5 kind of thing, and a lot of them are striking out on their own and creating, and Apple's perfect for that.
That's an interesting take. I never actually really thought about that, but like, I mean, I have no data to back it up, but
no, I don't.
Anecdotally, I've noticed a lot of my younger cousins and things like that are kind of going into college now, or just coming out of college and things like that. You're right. They do tend to be like more so probably than, when I graduated from college, even like not even that long ago, like, 8 years ago ish. Oh geez, now I feel old. That more people are going into those fields, and I went into a slightly more creative field too than a lot of the generation kind of before me. So that's an interesting take. I never would have really thought about that, but yeah, like Apple does kind of dominate the market a lot in creative fields. Like, when I was in college and I was taking a bunch of courses, about media production and ad design and things like that, all of that was done on Macs. All of our labs at my college were all Macs, right? And we all used, like the Adobe suite, and we used, tons of different photo editing apps that Apple has great things on. And it is kind of an interesting prospect to think that maybe more people are branching out into more of those creative fields. And there has been that shift. I feel like it was really with the, maybe not to pin my generation all on, some anecdotal evidence, but I do feel like the millennials kind of got the brand of the people who like wanted to go out and get their dream jobs and not just like, work a good, safe paying job for the rest of their life kind of thing. My parents did that, and, all the power to them. It's great. They provided me a great life, which is great. But they kind of, out of high school worked towards, getting like a nice kind of cushy 9-to-5 office job. And then that's what they did that's what they've been doing for their life.
Right. And most of those corporate jobs do provide PC. They do use PCs, and that's what they provide for their workers. So most of those kinds of jobs are going to be PC based. Like my husband has one of those jobs. He works, he's an attorney, and he works at a law firm, and the entire law firm has PCs. Like there's no choice. He doesn't get to pick his computer. They just hand him whatever. He can have an iPhone and he can have an iPad, but he has to have a PC. But whereas one of my daughter's friends just quit his like regular job to become a TikToker, and that's his full-time job now. Job now.
That's crazy. I like, even though I'm part of the generation that kind of like grew up on social media. I mean, Gen Z and the lower generation are even more so, but like, it's crazy to me still that people make a living doing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like all the power to them. I love TikTok. There's some TikTok creators that I am like, man, they are funny and genuine and like really good at making interesting short little bits of content, which is a very, very specific skill that I definitely do not have. So that's cool. That's cool. I and a lot of TikTokers definitely use iPhones. I'll tell you that.
I teach Sunday. So one of my jobs is I teach Sunday school, and I asked one of my students a few years ago what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he said he wanted to be a YouTuber and play video games on YouTube. And like if somebody had said that to me 10 years ago, I would have been like, honey, that's not a job. But when he said it, I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, I get it. You have a channel now? Have you started yet? He's 10, and I'm like, yeah. Did you get started? Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's the way now.
Craig makes a good point. Is it crazy to make a living being on TV as a media personality? Is it much different than being a TikTok professional? I guess that's an interesting way of looking at it, right?
Yeah, it's really not like the Kardashian type thing. Yeah, it really is. It's not really any different. It's becoming much more widespread. I mean, there are Kardashians and there are a few people like that, but I mean, becoming a famous TikToker, it's like literally anybody with a little bit of talent can do it.
Yeah. I mean, not to say like, I'm definitely have never been a professional TikToker / influencer ever, but like, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying anyone can just pick it up and do it. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, it's, if you want to grind it out and, you have like kind of you have that little bit of a spark and you think of an angle that kind of makes your content unique. Like it takes work. It takes grinding. You might you
have to have an incredible work ethic. That's for sure.
Definitely. I think any freelancer, as I'm talking to Karen, any freelancer can tell you that work ethic is pretty important in the gig economy, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. I mean, look at Rene Ritchie. I mean, he started off working for iMore, he ran iMore for a while, and now he has struck out on his own and is a successful YouTuber influencer. And I can tell you from meeting him personally and spending time with him that he has absolutely an incredible work ethic, along with being, of course, brilliant and talented and all of that. But it's definitely the way things are now.
Yeah, he definitely thinks of every day, thinks of how to make his content better, how to make it more accessible to the most amount of people, and Yeah, I think that's what you need to do when you're kind of in that world. So it's cool. It's cool to hear that the Mac is growing though, and there's lots of different reasons. I know we just speculated a lot about creative, but I would have to posit that at least some of it's due to the success, and some of that success is, a lot of hype kind of mixed in there too. But like the M1 chip has kind of been a game changer, I think, for Apple in a lot of ways. And they're fine. I think they're still kind of like unlocking its full potential. We have it in iPads now, and the iPad can't even really make full use of it. It's so powerful that the iPad is kind of limited by its sort of operating system. So I feel like we're just scratching the surface of like Apple Silicon. And I don't think we'll ever live in a world where, maybe I'll eat my words in 50 years from now, but like, I don't think we'll ever quite live in a world where Mac will, outshine PC in terms of global market share, because Macs will probably always be just a bit too expensive for, bigger businesses to really buy in and get, fleets and fleets and fleets of Macs for all their offices. But I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing, a slow but steady increase as the years go on, because their computers just perform really well. And they can be a little expensive, but that being said, they kind of do what they do really well. And if you like what they do, which a lot of people do, you're going to be really happy with it. So cool to see the Mac growing. I think Mac OS, we'll talk about this in a later week too. I think Mac OS has a little bit of upgrading it needs to do as well. But overall, I think it's a great operating system, and it's a great PC for a great computer for people who want it. Moving on, there's a new book coming out that's kind of an inside look at how Apple became a $1 trillion company and lost its soul.
It's such a clickbaity subtitle, isn't it? I mean, it's a book.
It's so dramatic.
Exactly.
It's very dramatic. But that being said, it is interesting. So the book is called After Steve, and it's a book by Trip Mickle. And it's kind of supposed to be an inside look into how Apple has fared sort of the after the Steve era. And it's an interesting, you can't really talk about Apple without talking about Steve Jobs. Obviously, he was instrumental in how the company kind of got its reputation that it has now. And he wasn't the only person. There's other people in there, but he was obviously the face of the company for so long. And unfortunately, sort of like kind of went before his time, really, and unfortunately with a battle with cancer, which was really unfortunate. And everything that Steve did during his time there is still sort of carried on. Apple's not the same company it was 15 years ago, but it still kind of has that same identity, which a lot of which Steve helped and really cultivated and created. This I don't really, spoiler alert, I don't really read a lot of books. It's not my favorite pastime. I much prefer shows or video games or music or reading makes me sleepy. But this book actually sounds pretty interesting, and probably because I'm obviously coming from somebody who works in this covering Apple every day. I'm interested to see kind of what it says. I'm interested the lost its soul part. I don't know. Do you guys think that Apple has lost its soul?
I mean, I don't really think that's a fair assessment. I put something out on our social media about this book, what people thought about the after Steve era in general. And it pretty much is aligned with what I see a lot of Apple fans saying, which is, Apple's never been quite the same, and Apple's going fine, but it's dull now without Steve. I don't know that Steve, I hesitate to say that he gave Apple its soul, because from what I hear, like, he wasn't really a nice person, and he kind of made things difficult for people at that level. But there's no denying that he was an incredible innovator, and he was able to see things I'm not going to say inventor because he didn't actually invent the things, but
Right.
he was able to see the things that would be the future and bring those out to the public even before the public was clamoring for anything, because we didn't know that we wanted it, but Steve did. And that was what made him so incredible. And I don't think Tim Cook is that way. I mean, I think Tim's doing a great job running things after Steve, but I don't know if Apple's ever going to be that sort of cutting edge. I mean, the iPhone changed the world. I mean, it's going to go down in history as one of the top 10 advances of all time, along with like Fire and the wheel. It's so yeah, I don't know about the soul part. I guess I'll have to read the book. I am an avid reader, so I'll get to that one eventually. I read the Walter Isaacson biography of Steve when that came out. That was a big thick book, but that was really good. This one doesn't sound like it's going to be even as sympathetic as that one was, and that one wasn't all that sympathetic. Mm-hmm. So be interesting to see.
How about you, Christine? Where do you see Apple now, and do you think it's better or worse or the same or just different than it was during kind of the Steve era?
I liked it more when it was like the Steve era. I guess now it's kind of like, I agree with like a lot of other Apple fans. It's kind of dull. It's like not really innovative. It's just like incremental upgrades each year. It's not really anything like mind blowing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of two minds. I think like, obviously, when the tech was all new and like Karen said, when Steve came out on stage and introduced the iPhone, like that was a incredible moment. And like, I remember, being whatever age I was at that time, 17 or something like that. And like, just being like, oh my goodness, I need to get my hands on this thing. And then it wasn't even in Canada, and it was so expensive that I just got a flip phone instead, like everybody else. But back in 2007, but it's hard not to look back on that era and kind of romanticize it a bit in your brain, because there's just so many good feelings about it. And I will say this, humans do have a tendency to romanticize the past, literally almost any part of the past. You always hear people say like, music's not as good as it was back in the 80s or whatever era they happen to think that the music was great. We like to romanticize the past. And I mean, obviously I kind of agree with Karen. Like, there's been a lot of talk about how maybe Steve was a very difficult person to be around or things like that. But there is no question that he was instrumental in sort of cultivating and sort of, having a great vision for the company, I think. And I think with the Tim, if we want to call it like the Tim Cook era, perhaps it got a little more like businessy, a little more double downing on like what works. And I mean, you can't really fault them. I mean, at the end of the day, what is a company's job? A company in a capitalistic society wants to make as much money as it can and continually make more money each year, which Apple has done.
And it did under Jobs too. It's not like Jobs was like putting goods out there in the world in order for the good of humanity. I mean, Steve Jobs was there to make money too. So to say that Apple had soul when Steve Jobs was there and Apple doesn't now, it's just kind of silly.
Yeah, and I think the other part of this too is, I think it was like 2 years ago now. I can't even remember when, but the big design lead Johnny Ive has left Apple and has been gone from Apple for a little while now. And I think there's been a lot of talk about like what his influence was in the years where design, or like there was kind of a form over function rather than a function over form mentality. Perhaps that's why this mouse you can't charge and use at the same time. Maybe that was a Johnny
but
Ive
it's
thing.
Pretty.
It's very pretty. It looks very aesthetic. It looks wonderful next to your Mac, but is it the most functional thing we've ever seen? Probably not. We've seen the MacBooks have now come back with ports galore, and not just kind of very simple straight lines. They're a little more boxy again and a little thicker. And so there's a lot to say that maybe getting back to that more innovative or more functional side of things is coming back, that maybe now that Johnny's gone, or maybe just that there's been a shift at Apple in general, and they've just decided that, users are now, speaking with their wallets more than ever. And they're, we're going to have to make sure that we listen to them a bit more. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I think obviously the company maybe is slightly different than it was, back in the day, but I don't really know if it's changed that much. I think there's a lot of jobs still in the company culture and in the way it does business. I also think like its marketing and its ad campaigns have been very consistent over the years.
Very slick, very cool.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of the brand and the brand identity, obviously. And that all sort of started under Jobs as well. So it's interesting. I think I'll want to read this book. I think it'd be nice to see where it's kind of leading. I'm interested to see what the lost its soul part means. I don't think I'll probably agree with everything the book has to say, but I think it'll be an interesting read. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have some more friends.
We have more friends to talk about. Karen, why don't you tell us?
Yes. When you do anything in life, there's one way to do it, and then maybe there's a smarter way to do it. You might already be investing in cryptocurrency, but did you know you can trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, and over 80 other cryptocurrencies in a tax-advantaged IRA? With an Alto Crypto IRA, you can trade crypto like Bitcoin and avoid or defer the taxes. Get into investing in crypto and do it in a tax-advantaged retirement account. Invest with as little as $10, no setup charges, and no account fees. There are 150 coins available, more than 150 coins available, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. Multiple ways to fund your account. Make a cash contribution, transfer cash from an existing IRA, or roll over an old 401k. Ready to take your investments to the next level? Diversify just like the pros and trade without tax headaches. Open an Alto Crypto IRA with as little as $10. Just go to altoira.com/iMore. That's ALTOIRA.com/iMore. Start investing in cryptocurrency today. Go to altoira.com/iMore.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Moving on, a couple quick hits before we kind of get into the meat and bones of iOS 16, because I do want to talk about that, especially that we have Christine here. But a couple quick hits. The very first store that was outside, the very first Apple store that was outside of the US was actually in Tokyo. How many? Did you guys know that? Did you all know
No,
that?
I can't believe it wasn't Canada or maybe somewhere in the UK. Yeah, that was surprising.
But unfortunately, it is being torn down. The building that it's in is being torn down to be replaced by a new 10-story building. But Apple hasn't said if it's going to maybe at least get space in that building or not. Yeah, interesting. It's interesting to know that it was in Tokyo. I think it's kind of cool. You can go to our website and see kind of the pictures of what it looks like. And Tim Cook has even, been there before and tweeted about it just a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's interesting that the store has been there for so long. It was the first one that opened outside the US, which I think is really cool. And I mean, Apple stores have been popping up like weeds lately. So
yeah, but it was 20 years ago that they put it there, and the land has increased in value by 258%. So you can see why they would want to tear down a smaller building and put in a taller one. Although I'm surprised the new one is only going to be 10 stories. You'd think they would put up a skyscraper.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a very vertical city and getting more vertical each year.
Yeah. Tokyo has density for days, that's for sure.
Yes.
So sad to see the store go. We'll have to see what happens, but it'd be kind of nice if Apple eventually put another store there, because I'm assuming, people would. I'm assuming it did well since it was the first location they ever scouted and put a store in.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully they do something. Maybe they'll build something somewhere else, or maybe there's another space that they can move into. But Apple hasn't really said, so we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah.
All right. let's move on to the big event, which is iOS 16. WWDC is coming up in just a month, and that means we're going to see awesome new software, hopefully, for literally all of their devices. We're looking at iOS 16, iPadOS 16, whatever macOS ends up being. We never know the name until it's kind of announced. And watchOS 9, presumably, and all sorts of things. But today we're going to focus on iOS 16 because Christine is here, and Christine is kind of our iOS expert. She's been using all the recent iPhones a lot recently. She has an iPhone SE, she has the 13, the 13 Pro. She's had her hands on everything. So, and she also wrote an article a couple weeks ago about what she'd like to sort of see in iOS 16. So, Christine, what are your big hopes? What are your hopes and dreams for iOS 16 as we're staring down, the barrel of like the last month before we got to get our first sneak peek at it?
My biggest wish is the better customization options. Since iOS 14 let us change the app icons and like get widgets on the home screen, and iOS 15 didn't really make that process any easier. So I'm hoping that they make it a little better in iOS 16. I've been wanting that for like the past 2 years now, so actually longer than that, but
yeah. What's like your top? Do you have like a top like type of customization you'd like to see? Like, is there like one specific thing you can think of?
Make it easier to change app icons, I guess.
Yeah, because you still have to do it via a shortcut that you have to set up, right?
Yeah, and you have to do it like individually for each app icon you want to change, and it's like a really tedious process. I mean, it's easy, but it's just really tedious and time consuming.
Mm-hmm. We do have a how-to up on iMore, by the way. Check it out if you're looking to change your app icons. I've done it a bit. It's kind of fun. And they did make it a little better. I remember when they first did it, you used to hit the shortcut and it would launch the Shortcuts app, and then it would launch the app that you're using.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, but they cut out the middleman, and now you can just launch the app immediately. It doesn't have to launch the Shortcuts app, which is good. What else do you want to see?
I wish they would like, I don't know, make a theme, iOS theme store thing where you can where creators can upload their entire theme packs, and you can just buy all the icons and then just apply that whole thing to your device in a few taps or something. I would spend a good amount of money on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that Android's been doing for, years. You can buy tons of Android themes and stuff. So, I mean, it's something that I've definitely hoped would come, because it's, as somebody who I like to even just change my background pretty constantly. I've talked about that in the show before. And just because I like my phone to look just a little bit different every now and then, because it's interesting, and it keeps me happy, puts a smile on my face. I can't imagine if I was able to kind of fool around with all the different apps and all the different themes and I could see myself spending, if developers would do that, and if Apple opened it up and they made theme packs and you could charge for them, I'm assuming Apple would get a few more of my dollars in that way for sure. Karen, I accidentally sort of cut you off while I was talking to Christine. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to agree with Christine wholeheartedly. I would absolutely love to see more customization. From what I haven't tried to actually do change up all the icons recently, but the last time I tried it, you couldn't do every single app. It depended on the particular, you could do all the Apple apps, but as far as third-party apps, some you could and some you couldn't. So is that still the case, or can you do them all now? If you wanted to do all of your apps in a certain thing.
Yeah, I haven't tried every single thing, but I think you can do them all. I think you can.
You can.
You can go through it and do it all.
It is a tedious process. I would like to just have it be a one-step process. You just download the theme and boom, everything is rainbows and unicorns, or whatever theme you've chosen. Star Wars or whatever. I think that would be so much fun. And I put the question out on social media this morning, and someone said that they wish that we could have invisible background for widgets and also interactive widgets. which I thought was sort of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, that was also on my wish list. Interactive widgets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think with that commenter that like widgets are where I want to see probably the most just because like widgets are cool. I think widgets
Yeah.
are cool, and they really did kind of shake up the home screen and in the iOS world. But yeah, there's just a lot more. I feel like they can do more interactive widgets, as we said, but like even that the transparent backgrounds for widgets for certain widgets and would be really cool. And I know that there's certain apps and stuff you can do and certain widgets that do kind of that, but it'd be cool to have like the weather. I have like my little weather app, but it'd be cool to have like my weather app show most of my background, but show all the like relevant weather information.
And I wish it was more updated. Like whenever I look at my weather app, it's always wrong. Like it's always just like a few hours behind. Like I still, even with the widget there, I still have to tap on it to get the current weather forecast.
Yeah.
So it's kind of defeats the purpose of having a widget if it's never right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like that's more on the developer's side. I think that just has to do it. And like I know,
but even the Apple one, even like just the straight Apple one, it's never it's never completely updated. And I mean, where I live, the weather is very changeable. Like I need to know like this minute, is it going to rain in the next 15 minutes or is it going to be 45 minutes? So I know if I have time to walk my dog. You know what I mean? Like I need to know very specifically right now.
Yeah, I know that specifically, I don't know exactly how it works in the US. I would assume it's similar, but I know that here in Canada, like a lot of our weather apps get their data from Environment Canada, right, which is our government sort of official governing body that kind of tracks the weather and weather systems and whatever. And they update fairly frequently, but they only update their information every like I want to say like 20 minutes to half an hour. So like we're always at least a little bit behind because of that. So I don't know if that's similar in the US. It could just be that the weather information that they're getting their stuff from is only updates every so often. But I agree with you that like more interactive apps would be really, really, really nice.
Yeah, and PhonePop asked in the comments if I have my precise weather alerts on, and I do get notifications like it's going to rain in your area in the next 15 minutes, but it isn't just the rain I want to know. Like I want to know the temperature right now. I want to just be able to glance at my phone and know what's the weather now, what's the temperature going to be all day, so I know how to dress, because sometimes it's it'll be 45 degrees when I'm getting dressed in the morning, but it's going to be 70 that day. So even though I don't feel like putting on short sleeves, I need to put on short sleeves because I don't want to have to change my outfit 15 times today,
Right.
So I would like to see improvement in the timeliness of widgets, like up to the second. I want up to the second information correct in the widget all the time, consistently across all apps, Apple's and third party. That's my wish list.
Fair. We'll talk more about this in just a second, but Karen, why don't you tell us about even more friends that we have here at the iMore Show?
Oh, yes. Let me get that open. Capital One. Have you ever hit a technical snafu shopping online? Has filling out payment fields given you a headache? Has a mobile banking app even been down when you wanted to use it? Capital One believes everyone deserves better banking. This means easier access to their money and more security. That's why Capital One is investing in machine learning. Machine learning allows Capital One to do things like fight fraud with random forests. Models quickly detect suspicious activity and make it faster to alert federal investigators. Identify how mobile app outages happen with causal models. Keeping our mobile app up and running doesn't happen by accident. Anomaly detection and incident response help determine why app outages happen so engineers can quickly remedy them. Speed up online shopping with machine learning at the edge. Makes shopping with virtual card numbers smoother and more secure. This technology is based on logistic regression models and running inference in the browser. It identifies payment fields, which helps make using virtual card numbers easier and faster. The potential of machine learning is so big. See how Capital One is using machine learning to create the future of banking. Search machine learning at Capital One. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Thank you, Karen, and thanks Capital One for sponsoring the iMore Show. Christine, what else are we looking forward to? What else are you hoping for in iOS 16?
Not sure if it would be possible in like software or if it would need new hardware, but I would really want like a magic eraser in the Photos app. Like
Oh,
when you
interesting.
edit,
To take out backgrounds and things like that, or
take
just
out
like
things. Yeah, yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of cool. It would also probably potentially eliminate maybe the need for some third-party photo apps. Since
yeah. I mean, I know third-party photo apps can do that, but I've noticed a lot of them lock that behind a paywall, and I just don't want to pay for that feature.
yeah, totally. I never even really thought about that, but for the amount of times that like I actually do use third-party apps to edit my photos and use magic like tools to erase things in the background or to, clean up, dust off of off of all the tech pictures that we need to take and things like that. Like it would be really useful to have that like just in the camera app itself or in the
Yeah.
Photos app rather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know that like Google Pixel 6 has that feature, and I'm like, I really wish I had that on iPhone.
Yeah, that would be a nice feature. And just generally cleaning up blemishes in the photo and stuff, like whether it's a specks of
Yeah,
dirt on
Yeah.
your product photo, or like actual blemishes on the face. Like you could do it on a Mac, but you can't do it on an iPhone yet, which I mean, I think a lot of us do a lot of our photo editing right on the iPhone, so it would be
yeah,
convenient to have it there too.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see, because I mean it over in in recent years the photo editing capabilities of the iPhone have gotten upgrades. There's more filters now. There's more like cropping and resizing tools and all sorts of things. And I feel like it has sort of tried to creep into that market that third party apps have been serving for a long time. I am curious if they went that direction, like could they almost, I mean, people will say this is a bad thing too. There's lots of reasons to say it's also bad, but like if they went fully in on like pretty much making the Photos app also a complete image editor, like would that, I wonder how much that would decimate the current third party market, but I also wonder if it would be pretty awesome. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I agreed on both counts.
yeah,
It would be pretty awesome, and it would decimate the third party photo app market. But
yeah. Which there's tons of bad implications to that as well. Christine, what interesting in your article, I was reading here that like you're kind of hoping that maybe we can get Quick Note for iPhone.
yeah. I mean, like the new iPhones. I mean, they're already like a gesture based. So I mean, what's the harm in adding another gesture, like swiping from the bottom corner, to bring up like a quick note? I mean,
Yeah, I guess
that would
like
be pretty cool.
I guess it's just like the one problem with that on in the Face ID era is like how would you make it so that you don't accidentally swipe up on the home screen kind of thing, especially if we're trying to do it from like the
that's true.
bottom corner. But there's a lot of things that they can do, like they can make it like the bottom right hand side, and you just have to like sort of, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's how you bring it up on the iPad.
Yeah.
Right now.
So there's obviously they could make it work, but it would be, you wouldn't want it to interfere with the gestures that are already needed kind of with the phone. But I think that's kind of interesting. Like I actually do, like when I use my iPad, I use Quick Note fairly often. I actually find it surprisingly like useful.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about bringing that to the iPhone, but I mean, all my notes are synced everywhere. So maybe I would just use my iPad less to make notes if I had the ability just to quickly bring it up on my phone. So that'd be interesting. Let's get your hot take right now, Christine, on do you want to see some sort of Apple Pencil support come to the iPhone?
Kind of, yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if they had a little mini Apple Pencil that could attach to the side of the
Yeah.
iPhone? Like this little tiny one that's like that big. Wouldn't that be so cute? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, that would be cute.
It's funny, like a couple years ago, before I actually like got into iPad more and started using iPad more with the Apple Pencils, I would have said like I don't need an Apple Pencil like or a stylus with my iPhone. I feel like it's superfluous. I can't say that word very well, but it's unnecessary. But after just like the last few years really diving into iPad OS and just like being able to have that precise like tool to like press icons or draw things or whatever is just like so handy in so many different ways. Like I literally don't use my iPad without my Apple Pencil in my hand. Like I don't necessarily use the Apple Pencil for everything, but it's always in my hand when I'm using my iPad. Like it doesn't leave my hand unless it has to be charged on the iPad. So I think I would actually love a tiny little Apple Pencil that could like fit in, that could attach to my iPhone and let me kind of like use it that way. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I feel like Apple does want to keep those things sort of separate, and it has increasingly been trying to make iPad OS a more distinct product than iOS in recent years. And I don't know if that fits the same mentality if you were to kind of bring over an Apple Pencil to the iPhone. And the other thing too is I feel like they would have to design a new one. I think like I don't think one of the current ones would really work. Like I think it would need to be slightly smaller. They would have to find a way to charge it with the phone. You'd have to find a way to keep it. But I mean, think of all the extra cases we could get. We could get cases that have.
I'm not into it. I don't want to use an Apple Pencil on my phone. There's just nothing I do on my phone that I need that level, like pixel by pixel precision. And the idea of like a tiny Apple Pencil, it's not going to be comfortable in the hand. I mean, just like in my classroom when I teach, I have full-size pencils that I have like some little golf pencils that I don't know, somehow just appear in my room. The kids fight over the golf, but nobody wants the golf pencils. Everyone wants a full-sized pencil. So and if have you ever written with one of those golf pencils? It's not like comfortable to really work with or write with. So I don't know. I'm not a stylist. I don't own an Apple Pencil, but I used it plenty when I worked at the Apple Store. And I do own other styluses. Or did we ever make a decision on that? I have used other stylus devices. And and they work great, and I don't have a problem with them, but I can't think of any reason I need them. I just don't find myself using them. I don't draw. I don't even hand write anymore. Like I get cramps in my hands if I write. I'm so used to typing nowadays. So I don't know. It's not for me, but if other people would find it useful, then great.
Yeah. I definitely don't think it will come to iPhone, especially anytime soon. I don't know if it ever will, to be honest. But I could see myself using it. Like obviously it would be different. It's not that I would be sitting there writing on my iPhone all the time, but like having it to interact and just like use and just scroll through stuff. I don't know. I've just gotten so used to when I use my iPad now to just like I have it in my hand all the time, and I like. I go back and forth between like using my fingers, but then also using the pencil to like swipe on things or touch things or bring up quick notes like we were just talking about. And
it's a good option to have for some people, sure.
Yeah.
And one other thing that somebody mentioned in the comments that Phone Pup mentioned that totally on a different track is the universal picture-in-picture system, like system-wide throughout iOS. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, he mentioned that, or they mentioned that YouTube is still missing. I mean, YouTube had it for a while and then took it off and then tried to put it behind a pay gate, and then there was a lot of weird things with the YouTube app and picture-in-picture. Obviously, I agree that a universal picture-in-picture system would be nice. But yeah, like I think the YouTube part is because YouTube is not really necessarily playing ball on that front, I think.
Right. But I wonder if there's a way that Apple could just make it so it's automatic. Oh, we lost Luke.
Oh.
But anyway, I wonder if there's a way that Apple could make it universal, whether the third parties want it or not. I don't know. There you are.
Yeah. Randomly left. Like that was the show's way of telling me we're about to go long, I think.
Yeah.
It just like kicked me out. We were like, we're done with this. I wasn't even touching anything. It just kicked me out. That was so weird. But that is our show. We are wrapping up here at the iMore show for today. as always, I want to thank everybody who's here in the comments talking along with us. Anybody who's listening after the fact, whether that be on YouTube or in your podcatcher of choice, thank you so much. We really love hearing from you. So definitely get at us. Let us know what you want to see in iOS 16 or maybe any of the other software that'll be launching at WWDC. Or getting a sneak peek at WWDC. Please let us know. You can find us on Twitter at iMore or on our Instagram at iMoregram. So hit us up. I want to thank Christine for coming on. Thank you so much for making the time. I know it's early for you there in the West Coast. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate it. Go check out Christine's article on iOS 16 changes and let us know what you want to see. Comment in that article below. We'd love to always hear from you. And Karen, thanks for coming along. Thanks for being here as always.
Thank you.
Yeah. And until next week, that's been the iMore Show. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.